At this moment, I want to take you guys to our WhatsApp group where I posted a revision exercise dated the 29th of August. The Lord is teaching us the value of making spiritual interpretation of everything we read from the Word, instead of building our lives on literal meanings from the Word. In your own words, by sending a voice note, narrate the spiritual meaning from any two case studies below. In other words, what do you learn from these stories at a spiritual or psychological level? At this point, let me explain that what God reveals to Brother X will not necessarily be the same thing with what God reveals to Sister J. Never compare your spiritual revelations with the revelations of another person, because we all are at different levels of spiritual growth. Our spiritual progress is not the same. Our level of faith and understanding is not the same. Therefore, there's no limit to the number of spiritual revelations or spiritual interpretations that you can get from a particular story. There is no limit to that, which means to say I cannot come to you and say what God is revealing to you is wrong. I will leave that to you to decide according to the level of your faith. Therefore, by asking you to interpret these stories, these 4 case studies, I'm not asking so that I can judge your revelation. I'm not asking so that I can say what has been revealed to you is wrong. I'm asking so that I can encourage you to be in the practice of making your own interpretations and not only relying on the interpretations of other people. I want you to come to a point where you depend on your own ability to receive revelations. The first case study was from Mark chapter 11, verse 13, the cursing of the fig tree. The second one was from Mark chapter 6, verse 49, which is the walking on water. And the third one was from Joshua chapter 6, the fall of Jericho's walls. And the fourth one was from Exodus chapter 14, the crossing of the Red Sea. I'm going to play the voice note which was sent by Michelle. Sister Michelle sent a voice note giving us her own spiritual interpretation of the cursing of the fig tree from Mark chapter 11, verse 13. So now let's hear what Sister Michelle has to say about this.
He noticed a fig tree in full leaf a little way off, so he went over to see if he could find any figs. But they were only leaves, because it was too early in the season for fruit. Then Jesus said to the tree, "May no one ever eat your fruit again." And the disciples heard him say it. So from this story, we find that Jesus curses the fig tree because he found it with leaves and no fruit. What we must understand is that it wasn't that the fig tree didn't have figs, because it wasn't supposed to anyway. Even the Bible is telling us that it was too early in the season for fruit. But that we find that the tree was cursed for its pretense of having leaves with no fruit. The leaves, they were saying, there are figs here. But then Jesus finds that the tree has no figs. So when we look at our lives, we can take the leaves as our outward physical appearance, right? And take the figs as our inner selves. So the Lord is saying, He does not want us to be all leaves and no fruit. So meaning our physical selves should be a reflection of our inner selves as well. So the two should agree. The same way it makes sense to find a fig tree that has leaves to also have fruit. So for example, if the world sees me as a nice person because of my actions, then that should be a reflection of who I am in the inside as well. Another example is if I decide to pray for someone, maybe someone who is sick, and the whole world hears me like quoting some nice verses, screaming and speaking healing onto a person, then my inner self should agree with that as well. It should agree with what I'm saying. My mind should be agreeing with what I'm praying for and be fully present too. So, in conclusion, God doesn't approve when there is talk without walk. So we must not be leaves without feet as well.
This right here is the value of having Bible discussions, Bible studies, because I can tell you of a truth that Michelle's interpretation of the story is something that in all my Christian years I have never heard from anybody before. And that is why I ask people, trust what God is revealing to you, number one. Believe it. And number two, share what God teaches you with other people. Don't underestimate yourself, because what God is showing you, you'll be surprised to learn that 5 billion other people on earth have never heard what God has revealed to you before, and it may help and benefit them. Thank you, Michelle, for sharing that with us. And I'm telling you the truth when I say it's the first time that I've actually seen that story from the angle that you're giving to us right now. So thank you so much. I appreciate it, and I believe everybody is learning from this. And now let's also hear from Brother Rivoningo. And Rivo is speaking to us about the fall of Jericho's walls. Rivo, please take us on.
Okay, about the Jericho wall. The Jericho wall, to me, I think it means progress and success, and the breakthrough when it comes to stagnation. Breakthrough when it comes to stagnation, because there are a lot of things, or there are some things which we as individuals want, but in order for that particular thing to happen, we rotate in one place for too many years or too many times, trying to find a way, but unable to find a way by our own. But until we call upon the Lord, that's when things begin to happen, and then we begin to break through. We begin to break through, and we start to see the light again. We start to see the light again. So, the fall of Jericho walls means conquering the stumbling blocks and overpowering stagnation, being in progress, succeeding, actually, like breakthrough in general. I can say fall of Jericho walls means breakthrough.
Thank you, Brother River, for giving us that perspective on the fall of Jericho's walls. And I want you guys now to listen to Chris, and then you'll notice how what was revealed to Rivo is not exactly the same with what was revealed to Chris. We learn something from what Rivo has said, and we learn something from what Chris has said, which means to say what I said earlier on, that God doesn't reveal the same things to us, but since we are a body, we learn from one another. We make use of what is revealed to one person, and we make use of what is revealed to us, and that is how we grow to perfection. So thank you, River, for giving us that. And now let's also hear Chris.
In the story of the walls of Jericho, the people were told to march around the city for 6 days, and then on the 7th day to march around the city 7 times, and then after 7 times they should blow the trumpets. So what I'm getting from that is that, from what comes into mind when I hear that, is that they always have to do that repetitively. So repetition is powerful. They were exercising the power of repetition in that story, that they have to do it all over and over and over again, and then on the 7th day they should repeat it over and over again. And what that speaks to me is that the power of always having something into your mind, always and always and always, it will eventually come to pass. So at the end, they were told to blow their trumpets, and then the trumpets means speaking the word. Blowing the trumpet, it means saying the word, speaking the word of God. And Yes, that's my part there.
Thank you, Chris, and thank you, Rivo. If I were to put the two of these interpretations together, I would say that the walls of Jericho, according to what Rivo has taught us, the walls of Jericho represent the obstacles in our lives, the things that prevent us from making progress. And with what Chris has said, I will say that in order for us to push down these obstacles, to push down these walls, we need to do two things. Number one, we need to blow the trumpets, which means to say we need to have a message from the word of God that we are speaking so that those walls can come down. And number two, from what Chris has said, we need to practice the principle of repetition in speaking this word. So I'm going to find out what words of faith from the word of God can I speak over and over again, repeatedly, so that I can push down these obstacles in my life. And that's the way to make progress. Thank you very much, Michelle, Rivo, and Chris, for giving us those wonderful perspectives from the Word of God. And next week, we shall be hearing from the other guys as well. We have more things to discuss based on these wonderful things that the Lord is teaching us. Thank you guys for your time. We love you, and thank you for joining this session. God bless you.